Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. A lot of deck profiles this week. I know we don't normally do that type of thing, but we did show you guys the blue-yellow CritNemba gameplay earlier this week, CritNemba specifically, so I'm here today to show you guys the build. With that being said, we haven't put too much time into this deck since the newest set has dropped. Now, this is a build created by me, one of my local friends, and one of my patrons. We all kind of worked on this together, and we're really happy with where it came out towards the end of the last set. But like I said, we haven't put too much time into it now that new archetypes and new sets have come out. So I am going to talk about in this video where this could stack up in the current format compared to other decks and newer decks. I'm also going to talk about what new cards you could potentially add to this deck to make it better hedge against different matchups. So make sure to watch the whole thing if you want to know all that good stuff. With that being said, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. Want to get involved in the Dragon Ball Super community, make sure to check out the Discord in the description below. And finally, guys, 3 ways you can help the channel out. Number 1, Patreon down below, lots of competitive content for you. Number 2, YouTube channel memberships down below with the join button. And number 3, guys, if you want to purchase any of the cards you see in this video, make sure to use my link to TCG Player or Beater Collectibles down below. With that being said, we will get into this discussion on this deck. So CritNemba, not the archetype you normally see when it comes to CritNemba. Obviously, you typically will see Nemba, either tricolor or blue yellow, although that deck has pretty much fallen off the wayside, it seems like, at least at the start of this format. But CritNemba, pretty nuts. I mean, on the unawakened side, he's typical burst 2 leader, attack, draw card, awaken, untap 2, but the backside's where it gets crazy. So on the backside, sparking 5, when he attacks, draws a card, and he gains plus 5k crit. A 20k crit leader, I mean, we've seen Yamcha top in the past. That's a really strong effect when you talk about like incremental advantage. You know, plus 5k, it's basically a free 5k combo every time he attacks. And then crit, you're also denying your opponent a resource when it does do damage, so that's really powerful. The activate main as well, discard a card from your hand. If your opponent wants to activate counterplay, they need to pitch 3 cards from their hand to do so. And in the format we're currently in, guys, in the game really that we're currently in, with the way that counterplays have evolved in Dragon Ball Super, this is a really crazy effect. Like, we saw Red Gogeta do crazy things last format. This could be the time for CritNemba to shine. If you guys, take this deck, run with it, take the changes I suggest, maybe it'll work out. Let's see what the rest of the deck contains. We got 2 Further Instruction Champa. We're playing tons of crit, and you don't have a true like game-ending boss monster per se. The entire deck is based on combos that have tons of crit. They deny your opponent a lot of resources. So Further Instruction Champa, you're gonna want that as your main deck, finisher essentially. All too easy, just a 1-of drop area negate. Now my friend James, who this is his build that he last kind of ended up with, he played the 1-of all too easy. I don't think you necessarily need it. I think this could be a slot with some other slots in the deck where you could play a 1 or 2 of Absolute Release Ball. Absolute Release Ball being the new blue counterplay coming out of Malicious Machinations, which says if you have a blue-yellow energy, or not a blue-yellow, if you have a multicolor energy, you can activate it by taking a life. Otherwise, you can only activate it when you're at 4 or less life. Then you can negate the play of a 3-drop or less, bounce it back to the opponent's hand, and then untap an energy. It's like a Whis Coercion or Dimension Magic for counterplay in blue, and it's a lot better than You're Wide Open because it only costs 1 energy. A lot of the main things you want to stifle are these small little aggressive plays like that are 3 drops or less, so you can hit them with Absolute Release Ball. And you also want to be able to stop red Topo Righteous Aid, from stopping your turns when you're trying to go in with your crit combo. So with that being said, I think Absolute Release Ball is a great spot in this deck, probably in the place of All Too Easy, probably also in the place of one of the Undying Spirit Sun Gohans. Undying Spirit Sun Gohan, really strong counterplay, especially for blue. It's great against aggro decks, but I do think Absolute Release Ball serves a similar purpose and is a little bit more flexible. I really do think stopping Topo is one of the most important things you can do in this format, so I would recommend that as one of the changes. 4 Senzu Bean, 4 super combos, 1 Annealing Spirit Trunks, you're gonna play them. Annealing Spirit Trunks is really important when it comes to the next card, Childish Heart CritNemba. Now, this used to be a main deck staple in the CritNemba decks, but lately they haven't really been playing it, so I'll give you guys a quick rundown of what it does. It does evolve over a Psyche Demon, and you could play it in this deck. I mean, I think that's one of the things you would play if you played Mono Blue, but Mono Blue just doesn't have a lot of the things that Blue Yellow offers, mostly in the form of counterplays, but also the arrivals are pretty decent as well. A little bit more 10k combo power, and you just get a little bit more splashability which we'll see later on. So this is the main playmaker of the deck, and we were really trying to figure out ways to warp a 4-drop CritNemba without playing this, because we thought that the 3 blue commitment would be a little bit too much. We were playing some weird cards. We were playing the counterplay Toa blocker just to play it and warp the 4-drop CritNemba from our drop area. We're also playing XS Cash, which is a really bad 2-drop, if you guys remember that. I don't remember what set it came out, maybe set 5, maybe set 6, but those were cards we were playing just to try and get this 4-drop CritNemba into the warp. But we kind of changed the build around a little bit, added more blue so we can consistently charge 3 blue the first return. So by turn 3, you want to be playing Childish Heart CritNemba. So he has barrier, he's pretty much immune to all the counterplays that would really interrupt your combo. Then activate main for 1 blue, choose 1 CritNemba from your deck, send it to your warp, then shuffle your deck, place this card at the bottom of the owner's deck, then choose 1 CritNemba with energy cost of 4 from your warp and play it. This is the main playmaker of the deck. Really important to see it. Again, it does kind of suck that we don't have Psyche Demon. It would be cool to get this guy into play for cheap, but realistically, he doesn't fit into the deck, and turn 1 we are charging dual color. So really, you wouldn't be able to viably play this guy turn 2 anyway, just so keep that in mind. So for our 4-drop CritNembas that we're playing off Childish Heart, we have Phantom Strike CritNemba. He is our main playmaker next to Childish Heart. Critical, auto, when this card is sent from a battle area to a warp, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, send it to the owner's warp, then look at the bottom card of your deck and add 1 CritNemba to your hand, then shuffle your deck. You're almost always guaranteed to have a CritNemba down there, and he warps himself, so that auto will always proc a nice little piece of removal on top of the rest of his effect. Activate main, send this card to the owner's warp. If your opponent has 4 or more energy and CritNemba is not in play in your battle area, choose 1 CritNemba from your with an energy cost of 5 from your hand and play it. So there's some pretty insane loops with the 5-drops we'll talk about in just a second. But we do play 1 CritNemba Agent of Destruction just to have an additional target. This is a bit more of a defensive target, because when you do play him from the warp, you get to untap an energy at the end of the turn and activate main. You can send this card to the warp, draw a card, then your opponent places 3 cards on top of their deck in the warp. So a little bit more defensive. You get the untap, you get the draw, and you still get the 20k crit. So pretty solid there. But for our 5-drop CritNembas, the main playmakers of the deck, I keep saying playmakers, but really this is just like the entire combo. You know, it's basically the Childish Heart CritNemba into your Phantom Strike into your 5-drops. So CritNemba Infernal Intruder, new card from the draft box that really makes this deck function like so much more smoothly, because if you don't see Childish Heart by turn 3, at least if you have this guy, you can continue to go in. So critical, activate main, you pay 1 blue. If you have 3 or more energy, no other battle cards on the board, you play them. Activate main, pay a blue and a colorless, place this card at the bottom of the owner's deck, choose 1 Evil Incarnate card in your hand with an energy cost of 5 and play it. You can either play another copy of itself, or you can play Infernal Chain CritNemba. Another critical, auto, when you play this card, you cannot play another one for the duration of the turn. Activate main, Sparking 10, which is pretty easy to get because we are a burst leader, and another reason why we don't play Overwhelm as well. So you place this card at the bottom of the owner's deck as the cost. If your leader card is Evil Incarnate, choose up to 1 CritNemba from your warp with an energy cost of 4 or less and play it. So there's a few ways you can start the combos off here. You know, if you have Sparking 10 by turn 3, you go CritNemba into Infernal Chain CritNemba, then you go into your 4-drop. That's 3 crits of 20k or more power. Likewise, you could always go 5-drop into the Agent of Destruction as well. But the 4-drop does have a restriction that requires your opponent to have 4 or more energy. So sometimes if you're going to start the chain from there, you do have to wait till turn 4, which is pretty much fine. I mean, if you play Childish Heart on 3, it has barrier. It's probably not going to get removed from the board. So going into your turn 4, you pay 1, you play Phantom Strike, you do the whole same thing. So Phantom Strike allows you to go into a 5-drop. You can then go into Infernal Intruder. Infernal Intruder lets you go into this 5-drop, and then you get to go Infernal Chain back into a 4-drop for 4 crits during that turn. It gets pretty insane, guys. Add your Awaken into there using more energy. You can then maybe even play another Childish Heart, do some more insane combos. It gets really nuts. If you guys watch the gameplay, you might have saw James do exactly that. Like at the last turn, I think he did a combo where he resolved like 5 or 6 different crits in one turn. It was pretty nuts. So going into the blue-yellow now, this is where we kind of add the defensive utility of the deck. You don't want to just be like a crit combo offensive deck. You do want to have a little bit of flexibility. So 4 Beerus, 1 Frost Ellie Poison, and 1 Bojack as our blue-yellow cards. 8 is pretty consistent to see at turn 1. You do want to charge them turn 1. And then Beerus, of course, you just want to see for the rest of the game after that to easily charge. Fearless Assault Krillin, this is another potential change in the deck. This was created in a time where Shenron Gogeta was really strong, but a lot of them weren't playing Crisis Crusher, so we were playing this to 1 Self-Awaken, to give us a little bit of an edge against Shenron Gogeta, and we also have Chomp the Trickster obviously to help with that as well, but sometimes you can't kill them after they Gogeta 7 you, so we had the Krillins in there to self-awaken and put the aggression on. If you're really afraid of Shenron decks, this could be SS3 Goku the last straw. Or if you're not afraid of Shenron decks anymore, this could be any other yellow awakening card. It could be Source Power Sun Goku. It could be anything you want it to be that serves a particular purpose. I still do like Phyllis Assault Krillin. It kind of goes with the theme of the deck in crit, denying your opponent resources. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys is how this deck can stack up to the rest of the format. And I think the best way to do that is to look at the pie chart of the top 16 of PPT Dallas. I mean, that's pretty much the establishment for the format that we have right now. So if you look at Blue Yellow Janemba, what it does, it's basically a mid-range / control deck that has a really aggressive, you know, turn 4 turn 5 push for games. So how does it stack up? So against Blue Yellow Broly, that's going to be a super big grind fest. You're going to go back and forth. I mean, they're going to try and interrupt your combos with the Raiders Warcry, but it's not going to work too well for them because you don't go necessarily super wide on the board. You should only be attacking with one big crit at a time. So as long as you super combo and like pump those things up to 35 30k, you know, bigger than just the Raiders Warcry will get them out of, I think you're going to be okay. As far as Hachiyak, again, you're only really swinging with one guy per turn, so that restriction doesn't hurt you too much. It does hurt when you're trying to do your big combos, but if you just sit on Infernal Chain and they don't have the removal to deal with it until turn 4 turn 5, again, I think you're going to be in a pretty solid position against something like Android 21 or Android 18, the blue-green decks. They do have Vegeta the Cruel, but like I mentioned, you do have the out to that in a way, in the form of Child Heart Janemba. And another great card you can play to actually help with Vegeta the Cruel, you can either side deck it or main it, is Alter Reality, which is the field spell that came out in the Magnificent Collection. It's a 1-drop blue field card that says when you play it, draw a card, and then all your Janembas gain barrier. So having that to help against Vegeta the Cruel is insane. Likewise, that same card is going to help you against Baby as well, because when they're trying to, you know, drop their Apocalypse Grudge Grade A Baby, every time you play a guy, it's going to, you know, minus 20 it, and you could bypass that with the Childish Heart, but again, having that barrier with Alter Reality is going to help out a ton there. Against Janemba, well, you guys saw how that played out. Again, another huge grind fest, but having all that crit, and then you actually, if you saw the way James played it, he did not attack his opponent's Janemba leader with his own leader. For one, it allowed him not to burst, so he didn't have to mill himself. For two, he waited until he could establish his crits and just really deny the Janemba player of resources. I thought that was really smart. Against Beerus, man, another mid-range grindy deck, and I think it is going to be another grind fest back and forth. And I keep saying the same thing, like they have the Arrival Beerus. It's one of the strongest cards in their deck. They can pop a 30k or less. Alter Reality pretty much stops that. They could then tap down whatever they want, but that's not going to be too detrimental, especially when you get into those later turns of the game when you can start pulling off your combos. So if they rest down a Janemba Infernal Chain or Infernal Intruder, you just tag it out, play a new Janemba. That doesn't really matter too much. Shenron is where this deck can definitely struggle, but luckily Shenron's not too popular right now. However, since this is a Shenron Victory Strike that did top the event, Chomp the Trickster is a lot more impactful than it once was. Also, you could play Mutaito, Skill of the Sage, if you needed a different alternative, if you didn't want to spend 2 energy on Chomp the Trickster, but I think Chomp the Trickster is a better budget alternative. And you're blue, so you don't really have too much of a problem with keeping up energy, just to keep that in mind. I do think Frieza Prison could give you a bit of a problem as long as, you know, because they have Denial of Hope, which is really going to hurt your Childish Heart Janemba plays. So keeping that in mind, you're going to have to play around that as best you can. It's going to be pretty hard to play around because they don't really do much offensively. They're just going to keep their energy untapped and try and interrupt your plays. But actually, one of the best cards against this is going to be your Infernal Intruder Janemba, because if you're going to play a 1-cost 20k crit, and they're going to spend 2 energy to denial that means you should be able to make plays going forward via Sensu Bean, via Kneeling Spirit Trunks, things like that. So overall, guys, I know it was a pretty quick snapshot, but I think I gave you guys a little bit of a look on how you can combat all these different decks in the format with Blue Yellow CritNemba. I think it's a really solid deck. I would definitely give it more time if I wasn't so invested in some other strategies. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about the changes I suggested? How are you going to play it? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.